If you guys take this, this is what you guys, we're gonna have the conversation about today is, this is what we are concerned about, right? Fire escapes, but this is what we're really concerned about. It's on the back. Just when you thought you could use it, it drops you to the ground. This happened in Boston in '73.
In Boston.
I parked the car outside, near the harbor.
In Boston.
You find there's still a lot of fire escapes around?
Oh, he's doing 10 while he's here.
No, New York, they took down a
Oh,
bunch
they
of
didn't.
fire escapes.
Well, dude, they invented bubble gum, duct tape, and paper clips. These fire escapes, a lot of my fire escapes are, you guys are talking about, even in your own city, 75 to 125-year-old structures. Ooh. The only thing that's still on them is a fire escape made of steel primarily, and 25% of them are made of wood, which you guys are not even looking at, but they're in the code. All exterior steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges must be inspected in a 5-year. And the IFC, right, finally, in 2012, made it mandatory around the country, but not everybody adopted the code. And then some states brought it in and they watered it down. They said, oh my God, this is too strong. This is only gonna save firemen. And they threw water on it and just watered it way down and either eliminated the 5-year rule. But some states have the 5-year rule finally catch up. It's only been 100 years. The building department has been watching the fire escapes for you since 1915. How they been doing? Been doing a great job? So much so that you guys also understand that during your training, you guys teach your firemen not to get on fire escapes. In case of fire, don't use use your own ladder, wait for the truck to arrive, right? And what happens in the first 3 to 5 minutes? People burn or people smoke themselves out of existence. So fire escapes was a great idea. They haven't changed fire escapes in 100 years. They're cool. You get the hell out. You stand on something and either you get yourself down or you wait for somebody to come and get you, but you're outside the burning building. The smoke kills you, not the fire. The fire just basically toasts you after you've been dead for whatever time. So fire escapes, so you guys sent us your code. I believe you have, the code is because Warren had given me the sheet of your code, and it's, fire is kind of buried in the building code, correct? The 1031, I believe, is that what you,
This is an amendment that we found.
Yeah, it's an amendment to the North Carolina Fire Code, which says the same thing you have in here.
Right, so are you guys observing the 2000, are you guys on the 2018, 2020, what are you guys on for the IFC?
18.
The 18? So right in that code, finally, the IFC has the code that says, the fire escapes must be inspected every 5 years. The problem is they don't mention load testing, but the NFEA does, who's been around since 1927, carrying fire escapes. And then you have the building code that's been sitting over here. And until you overlap all three of them, and I will today, unless you put all three together, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like the Rosetta Stone. Nobody understands the Rosetta Stone until some guy said, oh, let's do it in Greek, let's do it in hieroglyphics, and some down here, let's do it in Sumerian. And all of a sudden, it wasn't until that guy read it and said, oh, so the Sumerians translated the hieroglyphics, and the Greeks are down here. This is what this stuff means. So you don't have to know that language, you have to know one of the languages. So when you overlap all three, that's where you finally see, for example, the NFEA, who's been doing this since 1927, and you guys have Life Safety Code 1001, right? That's what you guys, if you may reference it, so please do always reference the Life Safety Code 1001, because right there it says the authority having jurisdiction, not building anymore, shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. What's other evidence of strength? That's a brand new fire escape or the existing fire escape, which is 75 to 125 years old. Every bolt got taken out of it, and every bolt got put back, a new bolt got put back into it. It's been encapsulated so no more rust can get inside the connections, right? And then they say, what about the unknown, the thing in the wall? Well, you can load test it to make sure it's not yanking out of the wall, or you can make a brand new connection next to the existing connection back into the wall that has been fully refurbed. Now there is no load test for the next 25 to 35 years. The owners love that because, you got to rebuild. You got a restoration. What's been happening for the 75 to 125 years of people just keeping paint on it, the welding, we call them the welding witch doctors, have arrived. This one I just did today, the welding witch doctors have been there. and they welded everything shut with the rust still inside. And rust will snap a weld all day long. It'll snap it this way because it's a V rust. It's an upside down V rust, or it'll do this. It grows like this, and it'll snap any weld. There's no powerful weld that you can get the best welders in. That rust will snap it. But you take a bolt and you put it in between, right? And bolts do this. They hold. Rivets do this. They hold. You get the V rust on top. You get the V rust on the bottom. It's just holding until one day it just. So a bolt will scream for 25, 35, 55 years. A weld will just go, oh, a little bit of pressure, snap. And that's when you guys step on it. It drops. My very first, I'm an expert witness on a lot of fire escape fatalities and injuries. My first case in New York City was a fireman who fell through 3 sets of treads. 28 years old, he fell down one floor, continued running back up, knocked some window out, aired the building, or got some lady out of the thing. Then by the time he was running on adrenaline all the way down, then all of a sudden, so his back gave out. The uniqueness of that case was that he didn't go out because he was disabled now. He wasn't on, what's the word when you guys get paid because you got injured on a job? Workers' compensation because you got injured on a job. No, he sued the owner directly and won. Because the owner caused that accident by not maintaining his fire escape. So if you guys ever get injured on a fire escape that hasn't been maintained by the owner, you have 2 cases. You have your workers' comp case, and you do have, and he won that case, by the way, because the owner didn't maintain the fire escape. As a matter of fact, it was 2-3 years later when we went there to do an investigation, and we had lawyers there. We had the building department, the fire department were there. There was a whole big thing. And I'm going up the fire escape and more treads fell. Because the guy just fixed those 3 that he fell through. That's the only thing he fixed. And so he won the case immediately after that because they're like, dude. He goes, yeah, but I fixed it. He goes, yeah, but here I am walking up the thing and treads are falling again. Because I know how to walk up to it and stay away from landmines. But so they settled right after that. And so he was able to, so remember that. Any of you guys ever get hurt, or if you know people have gotten hurt on fire escapes, they can sue the owners directly for that, because they didn't follow the law. The law says you must. This was the case for the building department. Fire escapes must be maintained at all times, ready for instant use, which means if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't have a scheduled inspection regime for it. So finally the IFC finally stepped in 2012. And here we are in 2022. 10 years this law has been around and nobody in the states have adopted it. You know what I'm saying? Because until you adopt the IFC, it doesn't apply.
Yeah.
And so in your past codes, there's no 5-year rule. So there's no requirements. Like an elevator has a requirement. A sprinkler system has a requirement. You must prove. Now, can it go deficient during that 5? Yeah, but eventually that 5 will come back in and find that sprinkler system is bad.
Is that adopted at the state level or the local level?
So the feds came out, the federal government, the IFC came out with that, and they said, here's the code. Now every state has to adopt it or amend it or water it down. But since you guys are in 2018, if anybody has one of their code books, let's look at it.
It was actually just adopted by the state.
Yeah, January.
Yeah.
So it's an amendment, so it's not even in our code book. It's an attachment. It's a.
For the 5-year.
I'll put it right there.
So it's the 1104.16 point something.
Yeah, whenever Warren reached out to us, we had Mitchell and I looked it up.
Well, that's our job. When we get a call for an inspection, we always call the fire departments. Because we're just talking about one inspection, guys. I can come in, I can get out. But we always do this through the National Fire Escape Association, which I'm the founder. We always make you guys aware that there's plenty, you got plenty of meat, plenty of code that you can use, and you guys got to add it to your checklist of things. As soon as you add it to your checklist of things as something that needs to get done, you're going to see a major change in the mentality out there. Because any inspection, any reason you go to a fire escape, any reason you go to a building, just add a fire escape certification question at the end. Because you're asking, I'm here because the battery on the exit sign is bad, right? I'm here because of another reason, there's something related to a fire and that. the next question you ask, are those people safe, and my firemen coming here for whatever reason in the future, are they safe? Can I see a copy of your fire escape affidavit? They're gonna say, what's that? Say, exactly. So I'm here because of this, the battery's dead on this exit sign, but I'm also gonna write up, because I asked for a certification required by the code now. So just add that to any checklist you have. You're going in to, do you see a smoke hood? Before you leave that structure, ask for a copy of the certification. Everything, anything you do walking in for anything. You walk by that building, you can, and the owner's outside saying, how you doing, Charlie? You just say, hey, by the way, can I see your fire escape affidavit? Because you got a fire escape right above us. That's for your tenants to get out by themselves, and for my firemen to use. And we got to get them confident. And the one thing we have to use on that, with these guys, we need a tagging system. So let's talk about the tags. Okay? Last page. Imagine you're running into a fire and there's all kinds of smoke, and there's either a red fire escape that says, don't get on me, I'm going to kill you. It also tells the tenants, don't get on me. Or a yellow one says, hey, I'm functioning, but I'm under repair right now. Or it's got a white one, and guess what it says on the white one? The date and the next date of reinspection. You see these on elevators. And by the way, do you guys consider a fire escape part of a fire protection system? Because you have a code that says everything must have a tag. Sprinklers have a tag of when they need to be renewed. You have all these tags. So under your fire protection code, fire protection equipment must be tagged. So in California, they call this a fire protection piece of equipment. Isn't this really a fire protection piece of equipment that you guys have to use? It's part of your fire protection. You use this to get on, or you use this to get off. The tenants use it very briefly. They get the hell out of Dodge so that you guys can arrive and get into the building using this, or get the hell out of the building using this, right? So you need to establish a tagging program so that when you're walking down the street and you're doing something on that building, you can look up within 10 feet, and I'll show you examples of it. You can look up and see within 10 feet, oh, dude, you're beyond your inspection date. You were supposed to renew this a year ago. Tenants can see it and call the fire department and the building department and help keep this thing maintained. So a tagging system is something we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, inspection criteria, a simple confidence test. A confidence test is nothing more than something that anybody who wants to inspect your fire escape, structural engineer, registered architect, certified fire escape engineer, or certified fire escape inspector, you got a form that I got to fill out? Yeah, it's on our website. I don't care how great you are, how bad you are, whether you lie on this document or don't lie on this document. We just need there's a consistent 25-point questionnaire. And in case anybody gets hurt or dies on this, you're gonna get sued. If you fill it out right, you don't get sued. If you fill it out wrong, you're gonna get sued. Because if somebody happens, and every 5 years we change out who last touched this thing. So we'll eventually get the good guys in and the good guys and the bad guys out of the routine. Morning.
How are you?
Walker, this is Cisco, this is Chief Walker.
Hey, how's it going?
Chief Walker.
Walker.
Yes, Walker. Nice to meet you. They've said that a chair close to me for some reason. I don't know why. I think they want to get you on camera. We're recording this so that you can use this for future training.
Okay.
We wanted to use the smart TV in your honor, but somebody said no.
Oh, you're welcome to use it. Please do.
Yeah, no.
Huh? You just turn it on, plug HDMI to it.
Got IT quit. He left, he's like,
No, HDMI's already hooked up, plug it right into
There's
it.
no HDMI.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
And I couldn't broadcast, but it's fine. I'll be fingering this thing over here and just. So
That's how I think.
that's what it takes. I gotta figure it. All right. So with that being said, guys, so let's talk about. We're gonna go on. So this is gonna be interactive. So as you see questions come up, because I'll just monologue along and talk. But if you guys have a question specific, I'm gonna tell you that fire escapes are 75 to 125 years old on average. If you're wondering whether new fire escapes are being built, yes, there's new fire escapes being built. It is allowed by law on a pre-existing structure. You dig a hole in the ground next door, you can't put a fire escape up ever. So the law is very clear. No new fire escapes on new construction. But I'll take a church and turn it into a condo, and the solution at the end of it is going to be a fire escape. Because you're allowed to build fire escapes on pre-existing structures. Once you've exhausted all possibilities of putting 2 staircases inside whatever structure it is, such as a mansion, fire escapes is still an allowable use. I can replace fire escapes till the cows come home. So once a fire escape is bad, can I put a new one back on it that looks just like it? Yes, I can. the fire escapes are all gonna be certified, right? As of the day it was built. So if the railing's 32 inches high, the railings stay 32. If the owner wants to move it up to 42, he can. You can't force him to change. The bars are not 4 inches. If the bars are 8 inches apart, you can't do anything about it. There's some things that sometimes they just broke the law back when they built it. You know, they got 24-inch railings. There's huge gaping holes that people, you can force me to say, nope, fix that right in me. I want that brought up to code. But can you just say, hey, I want a new fire escape, 45-degree incline? No. So they are built, and I inspect them to the point on when they were built, more or less, and they kind of look at like each other. So there's a fire escape here, there's one right across the street, they look the same. You know what I'm saying? So if it looks drastically different, we'll tell you when it's a homemade. And that's our job. Our job is to tell you they didn't follow any standard that we can see. And now it's your choice. Force them to replace it, or force them to say, no, can you make it as close as possible to code? And so that becomes building and fire sort of saying, yeah, okay, little old lady situation, is it safer? So you get the call. Pre-existing, subject to AHJ approval, whoever that AHJ is. Okay, so let's start on the front. I'll go through all the pages, and then we'll get into, we'll do the slideshow here. So this is for you. Like I said, this is a typical fire, and look how old these guys are. So let's talk about the load testing right off the bat. Okay, this is load tested to 100 pounds per square foot. 100 pounds per square foot. Let's take a look at that top. There's 4 or 5 guys up there. Let's say they all weigh. That's a 5x5 as an example, more or less. 4x4 or 5x5, right? That means 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 100 is 1,600 pounds. Now, if I got 4 guys there, and they're 200 pounds apiece plus 100 pounds of equipment, they're only coming up to 1,200 pounds. So fire escapes, unlike any structure in this building, some of these floors are only rated to 60 pounds a square foot. Some of these are rated only to 40 pounds a square foot. Yet every fire escape on the outside is 100 pounds. You can't fit enough humans in that box to equate. So, but if you put them piggyback, and double stack it, triple stack it in some cases, you will achieve what these fire escapes are built for. They're built beyond your imagination. And that's why they need to be load tested, okay? So this is what we really care about. This happened in Boston in '73. That's a Pulitzer Prize winning photograph at the very bottom. The guy from the Herald, he took the photograph, and the fireman in the last second grabbed the ladder with his hand, hung up there. The woman sadly fell, she died, but look at all this iron chasing her, and her niece survived by landing on her arms. Okay? 40 plus years ago this happened, guys. Okay? So what is that? Because of that, because fire escapes are 75 to 125 years old, the building department has been watching it, and guess what? You guys don't play good baseball or volleyball with those guys, because you guys are the ones that get killed on fires, not building inspectors. And so for 100 years, there has not been any 5-year rule. That 5-year rule just came out, okay? And so that 5-year rule says, like an elevator, like a sprinkler system, every 5 years you must prove on your building, commercial or residential, that the fire escape is ready for tenants and ready for firemen, okay? Now that's been out since 2012, but only certain states have adopted it, and you guys just mentioned it just came out in this January, right? So believe me, you're not the only state that's taking this long. So when we do any inspections in your area, we're doing 10. As a matter of fact, you're all invited to go inspect with me later on this afternoon. So after 3 o'clock, when we're all done, any of you want to come up, there's a nice rusty one down on South 3rd, right? At 422 South 3rd. I already did the first one, and we may show it today. Otherwise, just come down. I invite building departments to fire departments to always come down, because you guys are the ones that know whether things are safe or not, and you need to get this word out. By turning you guys on, right, what's going to happen is you guys are going to revive your economy, because these fire escapes need to be painted, so there's your painting economy. It's going to kick out. The second thing is you need to get the fire escapes repaired, not welded, repaired, changing bolts, changing rivets, and so your local ornamentals and welding shops. Because you can do as much work as you want, because I have several divisions that, we teach, we inspect. These are all separate companies and stuff. But you give me 100 of them, what do I do with the other 900 that is left? Every city has at least 1,000. Chicago has 1 million fire escapes. So stop writing. I'll try to grab as many as I can, but you know what? There's going to be plenty of people that are going to say, hey, finally fire escapes are back on and every structure now, it's just not the inside money you can make. There's some money to be made on the outside. So we'll talk about those also. But this is going to feed a lot of local families some money, okay? So let's take a look at anything else. I'm going to go on the screen here anyway, you guys. So Lead safe, every fire escape has lead. Any fire escape older than 78 has lead, and you have to have an EPA renovator's license to touch it. This is reports. We have drawings that basically show what it looks like inside. You want to know how deep it is buried in a typical brick building? 8 to 12 inches. It's got to go beyond the veneer first, and then the structure in the back is either 2 or 3 layers of dirty bricks. That's where the fire escape is buried, 8 to 12 inches deep, okay? Let's go to the next page. So every connection is showing typical connections here, a drawing and an actual picture, so you know that these things are held. And by the way, there's a power of 4. Everything has a power of 4. 4 bolts hold a tread. You can lose one and still you're not going to hurt yourself. You can lose 2 opposite each other and the tread is still not going to give away. You lose 3, you're going to get hurt. Every rail has 4 bolts that hold it. Every stringer that holds the staircase has 4 bolts, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. So if you routinely maintain these things every 5 years, you will find that 1 bolt, but the other 3 will hold anybody up for a while. Okay? But you have to have routine. Here's the 25-point questionnaire. This is nationwide. So many cities have taken on this. So you want to base it on IBC. I have an IBC. I created the first national, and it's free. You can just download these things from our website. I've also had the first for example, Yonkers, New York. Go copy that. They already did it from the IFC, and just erase their name at the top, put your name at the top. That means the lawyers have looked at it, the code officials have looked at it, and it's a document. So copy. You don't have to create. The questions don't change. Each component of the fire escape is asked. Hey, in that tread component, any one of these treads, these 50 treads, any of them have internal rust? Prove to me it doesn't, Mr. Structural Engineer, Mr. Architect, Mr. Fire Escape Inspector. Because if all of a sudden you say there is no rust and I see rust, somebody's going to lose their license because you can turn these people in. So 25-point questionnaire, very simple. Yes, no. You can't keep it. So what you don't want, look at Philadelphia. Philadelphia, even though I gave a class there, they don't have the 25-point questionnaire. So what do they have? They have one of these documents that it's a single question. You know, is it safe? Is it safe with a repair and maintenance program that people can ignore? And they have. This is one of my expert witness cases. 6 months before a death, I gave them a class to their Liberty chapter. 6 months later, 4 people on a fire escape. 3 fell, 1 died. Student from China. Hit the news. I mean, we have it all here, but what you don't want is one of these 1-question answers, because you know who's going to be held responsible here? No architect, no engineer. And you know what they did? Also, they screwed this up. Only structural engineers can look at fire escapes. No architects, no inspectors. Inspecting 10,000 fire escapes. And you think engineers want to inspect fire escapes? The bastard child of egress? You know what I'm saying? So you have to let people who are qualified, because what qualifies them if they fill out a nice 25-point questionnaire? Any one of you can become a fire escape inspector if you know what to look for, because nothing changes. Fire escapes have not fundamentally changed in 100 years. The way they built them 100 years ago is fundamentally the same way they build them today. They got it right from the get-go. They just changed materials. They did some things there. All right, so more pictures of the typical components. You know what I'm saying? And failures and codes. Okay. Listed below is the fire escape repair and painting standards for all vendors. Look, in this one page, it tells you how to fix every component on a fire escape. So it ain't rocket science, guys. There's no, anybody that builds these, such as ornamental iron workers, can fix them. Okay, there's nothing special. There's a connection. I got internal rust. Somehow pry that connection apart, remove all the rust, prime the internal areas, reinforce or change the material out if a clip has gone beyond the deterioration. Now, before you put it together, guys, after it's been primed, you removed all the internal rust, squirt some silicone in there, go like this, it'll go. And what do? Run your finger. As soon as you run your finger, cock it again. Because a fire escape in 100 years has not seen silicone ever. Silicone was found during the war, World War II. And every fire escape we're dealing with was built in World War I. So if we put some caulking on these fire escapes now, that fire escape will last another 50 years. Because some of the silicone built that they have to last 35 to 50 years. You can get specialty silicone that you can get the one and it's got to be paintable, meaning you're going to change Otherwise, you use black caulking to basically, you know, because as you paint it, as the paint flakes off, but it has to be paintable silicone is one of the keys, right? What's the next thing? Let's tag these babies. You guys tag everything. You tag elevators, you tag, you know, lights, systems, you tag, you tag, what do you call it, extinguishers. You guys tag everything. This, in California, I belong to Reg 4. Reg 4 is the regulation for, and anything that's a fire protection equipment, I have to first get tested. It's called, I'm a fire escape assemblies tester, right? And I have to pay $1,000 every 3 years to join this group, and including sprinkler guys, anything that's, any alarms, right? And I have to report through Brycer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brycer. There's these companies that use the, you're familiar with Brycer? And a lot of, and this company was made up by a fire guy. And basically, they take care of all your violations. You guys write about it, but it goes through the system. They don't charge you. I don't know if you know that. There's no charge. But they charge me to basically report to the system. And this thing just, you're late on a violation, see it in court, automatically. I don't work for Bryce. It's just in case you got, but nationwide, they have gone nationwide for a lot of places. So these tags are great. You know why? Because you guys, not you guys, the guys fighting fires, they need a visual. So when they look at the fire escape, they're like, oh, it's got white. Let's get my ladder on it, throw my thing. I'm not waiting for nobody. I'm gonna drop this cantilever. I'm gonna run because I got a little lady up there and we have 3 to 5 minutes to do what? Stop the smoke kills, right? 3 to 5 minutes, right? After that, who uses the fire escape? After the smoke kills, who uses the fire escape? Firemen do. Because when the fire's crazy inside, guess what you're gonna jump on? But as you know, at your academies, and by the way, we test fire escape towers. You guys had your fire escape towers inspected yet? While I'm here till Saturday, I will go to your fire escape tower and we inspect those for free. So if you want me to go there, somebody just needs to give me the key or drive me there, and I will test it sometime this afternoon, sometime tomorrow, sometime Saturday before I shoot back to Boston where I park my car by the harbor.
They don't even use our old fire tower anymore, so it's not even operable.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you guys
New
train
fire
your fire
towers,
escape?
We have
it's a
the
Cape Fear
Kiefer
Community College.
Community College has training tower,
With a fire escape on it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Or
don't think it's a fire escape.
It's not a fire
It's
escape,
stairs,
it's
metal
just a
stairs.
stair.
Stairs is not a fire.
Yeah. They don't have-
It's just a stairwell.
But is it made of metal?
Yeah.
It's a fire escape. Guys, just so you understand, it's a second means of egress. Exterior, all steel or wooden stairways and cement stairs exposed to weather must be inspected every 5 years. These parking garages with this half open, no sprinkler system needed, open air, winds that blow the rain, they have to be inspected every 5 years. All exterior, or even partial exterior, steel or wooden stairways and cement need to be examined by law. So when I go down the street and there's a wood porch on the back and it is their second means of egress, partially enclosed, I'm supposed to inspect that every 5 years. Because in the building code, all exterior, steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges, have I mentioned fire escapes yet? Fire escapes and egress balconies, the crossovers over a firewall, must be inspected every 5 years. So sometimes we think, oh, it's gotta be metal. Nope. So we will do a free inspection if anybody wants to get me down there. Because in the cement, the rebar starts going. So it's not part of an envelope inspection, it's part of a fire escape. So anything outside a building must be examined. Steel, wood, cement. I'm not trying to run my business because it's free, guys. I'm looking at it for free.
It's like a community college, Cape Fear Community College.
It's not far from here.
It's, I don't even think we have the authority to say let's do it.
It's about 20 minutes.
No, it's just a suggestion, guys. You guys
You're
got
welcome to
a
call them and go do it, but I mean, we're at the community county.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm just telling you guys that we do that. You know, just to give you an idea of how often this is not done, you know the only city in the country that has load tested their fire escape? What city it is? And I did the load test, and I know. Oakland, California. They're the #1 program in the nation right now. Not the last. And not only did they raise the railing height to 42 inches, and load test their fire escape because they took it offline when San Francisco who I've also inspected their fire tower, lost a guy because one of the standpipes didn't have its cap on, and when they pressurized, it blew him off the fire escape. And we still haven't raised their railing heights yet, because as you know, when the rail's at 36, at hip level, what happens do you get pushed or shoved? When it goes to 42, guess what happens? It just hurts. You get the bruise. So that guy, I think, was around 42. So with that, let's continue on, and we do downtown walkarounds. So at the end of this class today, if anybody wants to follow me and walk the fire escape with me, I'm gonna do a fire escape inspection. So we do downtown walkarounds all the time, and a lot of times these classes are 6 hours long. The first 3 hours in the morning, we just talk, jibber jabber, and then in the afternoon, right after everybody goes to lunch, some of you come with me, and we go to what's called a downtown walkaround on any structure. You may have a structure right now in your head, you're like, oh my God, you gotta go to the theater, and there's a beast there that I've never trusted, and I never walk out there. Well, that's the one we should look at. And you can see a lot of this from the ground. You don't need to go up a fire escape to prove that it's bad. The ground tells you everything, okay? All right, so that's what this book is for. I would recommend that you guys post this in your work area. Just post it this way.
Is that gonna be looked at once a day? And our newest policy?
What is it?
No, that's a joke.
All right, so guys, let's walk through. I told you about the load test. These are all news clipping articles, but that I would be posting, and it will play a video. But again, this is all in PDF right now. But there's news articles that you can see about deaths. Firemen dying, people dying, and this throughout the country. Don't think this is the only place. But if you're old, you have an old history, and you have an older historical downtown, you're not different from Columbus, Ohio, from Connecticut, from Jersey City. It's all the same. Okay? So there's a lot of articles that we have where people got hurt. Reg 4 testing. So this is in California. What is it? It's nothing but a checklist. But if you want to get scared, in California, right? San Francisco, Oakland is leading the charge. They have the 5-year program. Look at the whole structure. Every fire escape in LA has only had their ladders inspected. Reg 4 only inspects the ladder to the ground, or the cantilever to the ground. Every year though. But whether you have 2 stories, 20 stories, there's nobody inspecting that. So when you're in a high rise in LA, just realize the fire escapes have never been inspected above the ground floor. Okay? And I've tried to change it, but guess what? Guess what's coming in January 2023? IFC. So, but in LA, till the present day, they only do 1-year inspections. On the ladders only. So here's some confidence test. City of Lowell, this is one, and it goes all the way to load test. Okay? So the recommendation that we make is on here. You see there's an annual. The annual can be done by the people who work in the building. Annuals is just basically they walk through. There's only 3 simple questions. Bolts and supports are not damaged or rusted. Paint is in good condition. And all moving parts, ladders and stairs are and look operational. So the 5 year is done by a professional. The 1 year is what you guys want, because you look at some of these commercial businesses, you go there every year, ask them for the certificate. Make their guy come out of the doors, or come out a window, come down the stairs, drop the cantilever, drop the staircase, the ladder. They come down and they give you this piece of paper. This is given to you by a structural engineer. This is given to you by the owner of the building. You don't have to expense anybody. You can have a carpenter, you can have anybody walk and just sign these 3 things. So have a yearly inspection done, and you should be part of your, because in California, every year you must inspect the fire escape ladder system while seeing if there's anything else. But every 5 years, you gotta do the whole system, including the ladder. You guys understand? So you guys should have this thing. So you wanna copy one, just go on Lowell.com, copy that, change the name, and this is an IBC version, because in Massachusetts, it's IBC driven. But because of a fatality of this, in '73, they changed the code. The only building code in the nation that had a 5-year rule. But it comes that, all code is written in blood, right? Whose blood? Building department's blood? So those are out there. This is examples of fire escapes. Must be structurally sound, it must be kept painted. So right off the bat, you can see that these fire escapes have not been kept painted. You're not painting it, I can guarantee you, The welds are now suspect, because as soon as you let welds get to no paint get to a weld, it's suspect. But if you let no paint get to a bolt, that bolt sometimes just hold it super tightly, you're not getting in. You know what I'm saying? But sadly on welds, it penetrates. What you can't see on a weld, and I know this because I've been in lawsuits because of this, welds rot from the inside out. They don't rot from the top down. They get in and under. And if somebody is not a structural welder, and you got a lot of these ornamental guys that they know how to melt a rod on a piece of steel. They don't know how to penetrate it. So it looks great. It's a nice quarter bead. My God, it looks perfect. Because they melted a rod between two pieces. And it'll stick for a little while. But as soon as you let water get in there, and moisture, which you get every day, you guys ever, when you sweat a pipe, copper pipe or anything, you ever see how it looks like it was wet? You do that to steel. When you're ready to cut steel and you start heating it, it looks like it was wet. And that's getting rid of all the moisture first before it starts turning red. So it's already got a bead of sweat in the piece of iron, and they start rotting. So let's talk about live load tests. You guys have people that go see parades. You got people that used to sleep. You got people that used to sleep on outside because they had no AC back in the day. You guys remember? That's nostalgia. You got, when all hell breaks loose, you guys are, whether you like it or not, or believe it or not, you're going to jump out that window and get on that fire escape. Because before you get saved, or before you continue saving yourself, running down that fire escape, if nothing breaks while you're there, right? What about this one? See this guy over here fixing the fire escape? One of my guys in Chicago, his 57-year-old father, fell 7 stories to his death. So guess what, guys? It doesn't care who it kills. It'll kill anybody. People fixing it, people using it, and people just hanging out. You know what the fire escapes are right now? Where is it? See the next picture. Fire escapes now are the new smoking room for everybody. Everybody goes outside to smoke, whatever they're smoking. Can't smoke inside, there's a penalty. Well, there's a bigger penalty if you smoke outside on a fire escape that's not certified. Did I tell you that the insurance company is not going to pay if somebody gets hurt on a fire escape? Because you didn't certify it. You haven't certified it. So all these owners that have fire escapes, and they're not, getting their fire escapes inspected and repaired, somebody gets hurt on them, including firemen, the insurance company will deny claim. Because there's a lot. I'm saying, if you're not fixing your elevator anymore, and you haven't certified it every 5 years as required, or the sprinkler system, and somebody gets injured or dies, you think if an elevator incident occurs and you don't have a current certificate on it, you think the insurance is just going to write a check for the 4 people inside that fell to their death? It's like, yeah, sorry, dude, yeah. The people can sue the owner directly and take the bill. So, but it's the new smoking room. Think about that, guys. Everybody is told on this lease, don't get on the fire escape. But, oh, by the way, don't smoke in there. Go downstairs and step 20 feet that way or 20 feet that way and smoke. It's raining outside or snow outside. So where does everybody go? Especially students, right by the window. Blowing the smoke out the window. All right. All exterior steel or wooden stairways, right? In California, see that balcony right there? Every wood balcony up to 6 stories has to be certified every 6 years now. Why? Because in a few years back, in Berkeley, I think it was 2018 or 2019, in Berkeley, about 12 people fell, 7 died immediately. 7 of them were from Ireland, the summer kids that come and work. And so in 2019, they want to make sure that every wood deck in California is inspected, and you have to have a certificate on it. And so not even a fire escape, just a wood deck. But if your deck ties into a fire escape and that's the only way out, that is a fire escape now. It's a fire escape hybrid, and that could be cement. Okay? All exterior steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges, fire escapes and egress balconies that cross over firewalls must be inspected every 5 years. If it's outside, it needs an inspection. But now California has taken it one more step, okay? We hammer test going up with a hammer test. It's not part of the load test. It's part of our safety test. As we go up, we ping pong. As you ping along, it's safe for me to go up. As soon as you hit a pong or a thud, that means that tread is ready to go. That's what keeps us safe. But nobody, you guys are not issued hammers during a fire. They go up and go ping, 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 ping as you go up, or coming down. So, hammer testing. This is a fire escape I took out of a school for children, kindergarten through, and what I did is I saved the fire escape. It was so rotten. And guess who got me to fix that fire escape during the Christmas break? Actually, not fix it, replace it. Was it
Sorry, I was just testing y'all's radar.
fire, was it fire code that came in and said, hey, get this, you got a Christmas break coming up, get this replaced? Nope. Was it building code that came in and said, hey, when you get a chance, it's Christmas time, replace this fire escape? That's been on this high school, I mean, not this high school, it was kindergarten through 8th grade, private school, Catholic private school. Nope, it was the janitor who convinced the principal that we should change this fire escape out. So, but what I did is I got it, was 4 feet wide, no paint on it, and then full of lead paint, because you can see some of the orange, right? And look, buried in the ground. So I saved it, I actually bring it with me. I couldn't fit it in my luggage, but usually when I go do seminars, I bring Rusty, and I show you how bad things can get and still hold people up. But what I did is I repaired it all wrong. I came in and did the welding witch doctor stuff to it. You know, I welded it, I did everything possible. I welded with lead. I did everything wrong to it, just to show you what happens when the right people don't fix a fire escape. And they're gonna continue. These welding witch doctors are gonna be part of the repair program, which I need to share with you guys to say they exist, we have to prepare for them, and load testing is gonna be the final solution. Whether it gets fixed wrong, or fixed semi-right, or completely right, the load testing is the final. Helps me not go to court, helps you not go to court, helps the owner not go to court, because we take the structure, and sometimes a load test will test something that still has the structural adequacy, done wrong because somebody's just cheated it, you know what I'm saying? But the load test confirms that it'll hold another 5 years. Why? Because that day it passed. Can it fail in 3 years? The answer is possibly. But our load test is to prove that the fire escape passed a load test. The person got it done for $10,000, not $100,000 as a full refurb. But the load test is what's going to keep everybody moving this thing along. Because, and a lot of times when we do the dirty dog, we call it the dirty dog version. We speak with the fire department. We say, hey, this person who can't fully restore it for 100 can replace it for 175,000. As an example, I'm talking about already a commercial size fire escape. Is choosing to do the dirty dog. You know what I'm saying? Just make it pass. I'm selling the building. I just want this thing to pass the load test. And it can be done. And some people do it, right? What we're telling you is we want you guys to write in this. Says, okay, we'll let it push because we want to see the load test happening to it. But 5 years from now, you're either going to replace this or you're going to do a full refurb. No other options. So it's almost like giving somebody a 5-year push. The load test is what you want to see to say, you know what? Should our men need to use this tomorrow? It's safe. Okay? So there's 3 levels. Full restore, we normally give a 25-year warranty, a structural warranty. And that's what you want from anybody fixing it. That fire escape that will pass for the next 25 years, or they'll have to fix it for free. Why? Because every connection got a brand new bolt. Every connection got a silicone shut inside. The only thing that's left on this thing is it must be kept painted. So you can actually fail and still have a 25-year warranty, structural warranty on the structure. Because as water and is trying to get back there and build new rust, guess what it encounters? 35 to 50-year paintable silicone, which it never had in its life when it was first built. So a fire escape can become fully rusted in 5 years' time. And the only reason it fails must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So as soon as the guy spits paint on it, we pass it. But when you do the partial work repair or restoration or the kick it down the road version, but we always encourage the building department or the fire department to say, don't, you know, little old lady kind of situations, don't have a dime, but you need it safe to keep the building. You can get it fixed just enough. So what's just enough? Just enough is where you basically go in and I got rust in the connection. Basically, you just blow out the bolt out of it, right? Keep the rust in there. Not major rust, not half-inch rust. I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, quarter-inch rust. You blow out some of the bolts, if not all of them, after you hammer test, you stress test everything, and you just put a brand new bolt. Now that bolt is not gonna give you nothing in 5 years. You can't shear a bolt in 5 years' time. Rust doesn't grow that fast to eat that bolt, you understand? And in some cases, what we do is we'll put in even a stainless steel bolt. you know what I'm saying, to satisfy the building code. But otherwise, a zinc bolt, a galvanized bolt, or a stainless steel bolt will not eat itself with any amount of rust. It takes 25 years to grow a quarter inch of rust. You know what I'm saying? And you have to leave it alone, you can't touch it. So that satisfied, is everybody here? I'm gonna open up this question. Do you feel safe on a fire escape that's had one of the 3 options done to it? 2 options automatically trigger a load test. When you fully refurbish, there is no load test for the next 15 to 25 years, as long as you keep it painted, and longer. You know what I'm saying? So if all the connections are tight and they have brand new bolts in it, you guys have any problem, and it says right in the code, it's one of the codes here, the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. So it says it's either or, it's not both. In some states, they want both anyway. I'm like, dude, then you take away the incentive for people to fix their fire escapes. You know what I'm saying? So if you change all the bolts, dude, no load test for the next 15 to 25 years. Well, who signs on that? The structural engineers, the architects sign on that, and they have insurance. And also the fire escape inspectors, they have insurance. But any of you have a problem guaranteeing a connection for 25 years if all of a sudden you took it apart? Prime this side, reinforce any metal that's needed, otherwise if there's plenty of metal there, you put it back in just before you get to this point, what do? Inject some silicone so that when you squish it, what happens? It squishes out in every direction, and then what do? You run your finger and you cock it again, because cocking is cheap. Right? And so what do? Now you have everything you need for that building to be ignored, especially paint-wise. And you know what it takes to pass a paint inspection? More paint than rust. So I don't care how bad their paint is, because all metal is a 1/4 inch thick. So surface metals that do not meet in a connection last forever. You know what I'm saying? Do you actually know that a fire escape rusts itself, just like copper rusts itself? The oxidization of copper is the green you get. If you have copper, you keep cleaning that green, you're eating metal, because copper gives of itself and it oxidizes into a green, and that's how it protects itself. Iron does the same thing. Rust is its protective. The surface rust you see on metal, that's what it protects. It's either that or paint. So, do you understand? As soon as you structurally repair these things or restore these things, there's no more need. I mean, the law says you must keep it painted. So in restorations, we've now only kept it painted. We silicone shut the connections, because that's where everything starts going. And on average, every fire escape should be fully repainted every 5 to 7 years in a can, but the average is 10 years. Every 10 years, people paint their fire escapes. Okay, let's keep going. So what did this look like? So I did everything wrong. This is what welding witch doctors do. They leave the bolts behind, and there's rust jacking inside, and they just weld the nose of it. Is it coming? Oh yeah. The welding witch doctors will do a typical fire escape, 3 stories, 45 grand on average, right? A welding witch doctor will do it for less than 10 grand. Why? Because he shows up, and this fire escape I'm at, the first one I did this morning, it's all welded. Everything is welded. So it failed today. Because now I have to load test the welds that I feel confident, and then fix the reinforced with a bolt only. I can't even rebolting is the answer. You can't even go back and welding because it's full of lead. Anything older than 1978 is presumed to have lead, unless you prove to me there's no lead on your fire escape. So anything older than 78, which is what you got, everyone has lead. And the only way to fix it is with a bolt. And every weld that needs a reinforcement, as soon as you make it into a mechanical connection, I don't care about the weld anymore. Got it? So that's where this thing's going. So this is showing you what welding witch doctors would do. Can I weld that right? I mean, load test that welded connection there? Yes. Will it pass today? Yes. Will it hold 5 years? Yes. Will it hold more than 5 years? No. So for our protection, your protection, some people will be showing up with welded connections, even though you told them, no welds. And this is what the piece looked like. I went from 4, and I made 2 pieces to do show and tell, you know, the dog and pony show. And people love that because they get to see just how bad things are, and that's how big it was. And that's the replacement. And this is what the kids used to go to kindergarten every day. You know, for the kindergarten kids, there's a rubber floor, you know what I'm saying? It was buried in the dirt. But there's no paint left on this, and the kids were eating, you know, lead poisoning was happening every time they went down the stairs. And then they ran underneath this thing and they were like bumping their heads, and there was no thing to keep them from running underneath because most kids in the play yard. So that was what replaced it. It went, came out of the door and it went that way along the wall. It was good. All right, fire codes, 2012. Testing and certification, all exterior fire escape systems shall be examined and or tested and or certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years, and a report submitted to the fire official, which is that certificate, right? Or a report. If you fail, you're supposed to get a report. You know how many reports you're going to be getting? They don't give it to you. They don't read that. But that's been around since 2012. Here's 2022. You guys finally jumped on board with the 2018, right? So, sorry, let's just talk about if you don't overlap what this means, you don't understand it. So you got to put the IBC, the IFC, and the NFPA. Okay, put it together now. What's it mean? So it says that in 2012, the International Building Code, the authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape system that has been shown by load tests or other satisfactory evidence of strength to have adequate strength. That's the NFPA Life Safety Code 1001.7, .2, .8, .6, right? So that is, but it doesn't have a 5-year. They've been around since 27, and they don't have a 5-year code. It just says that since 27, the fire code was able to, if you reference this as an additional code, you were able to pull that up. You guys never did. And look at the International Building Code. Testing and certification, all exterior fire escape systems shall be examined and or tested, right? Or certified for structural adequacy and safety. No, when? All the time. Well, nobody's doing that, dude. So every building that was being touched by the building department since 1915, 100 years later, they were still controlling it. As a matter of fact, in Massachusetts, the building department went and took it back from the fire code, said, no, this is our baby. Why? Because they get the certification of $100. To file your certificate, they charge for you to submit $100. So they make some money. But it's in your building, it's in your fire code. This is funny, ready? I've taught all over the country. Maine to Florida, Chicago to Texas, Seattle to San Diego, right? I feel like Bon Jovi, right? Have I played ever for the Massachusetts Fire Department? Why? I've offered. Why? The rest of the country is way ahead. But you know why? Because the building department took it. You understand? It's not in their code. The building department took it back. Even though the fire code is there since 2018 also. When it comes to a fire escape, that's the building department. Because that's the politics that go. And as you know, so what happened? Exit routes. This is also another code, the OSHA 1910.37, right? Maintenance and safeguards. During repairs or alterations, employees must not occupy a workplace unless the exit routes required by this subpart are available and existing fire protections are maintained, or until alternative fire protection is furnished that provides an equivalent level of safety. What's that mean? The OSHA steps in during these major constructions of a building that have a fire escape and say, the first thing you fix is the fire escape, not the last. And if that fire escape can't be fixed, we need scaffolding on that building so that tenants can get out and workers, even if it's a dead, empty building, and firemen can get in. Because if the fire escape is you want to get OSHA involved, they'll go down and talk to that construction company and say, hey, you don't have a second means of egress. Oh, we have this whole fire escape. We're going to fix it last. What do you say during the permit process? Because you guys review a lot of permits, right? So right now, you guys have the power to say, okay, full model, they're remodeling that building? Great. Great new systems, great smart TVs and everything that. Oh, by the way, what's your current means of egress? Oh, what?
Sorry, smart TVs for dumb people.
There's nothing but analog in here. And then when we brought in that smart person, he went,
I've never seen one before.
That's all he said. I've never seen one of these before. They're all the same.
It's all the same as this smart.
Yeah, well, tell that. He left. He's since left, unless he's hiding in that other room in shame, crying his eyes out. But the the key right now, guys, is that in your review, when you touch every permit in the city, just make sure that the means of egress is certified, whether it's a residential piece of property or whether it's a commercial piece of property. You should state, is your egress inside or outside? It's outside. Great. I need it certified before you can commence any construction. So you don't want to stop permits around here, right? So you say, they said, dude, we don't even have it inspected yet, we can't find it. I say, great, set up some scaffolding. And if it is an empty building, then do construction scaffolding, you know, the smaller stairs for contractors kind of thing. No, I got people living on the third floor. Okay, then I need a full set of stairs. And what's it look like? It looks like that. Full set of stairs, 7-Eleven rise and run, railings, platforms, all the way to grade. For what? For the duration of the building. Or you can go fix that fire escape first, because you guys are not going to start your permit thing for 3 months, get that fire escape certified right away, and now I don't have this requirement. And if you have a residential, you know, a nice mansion that got turned into 3 apartments and it has a fire escape and you're going to remodel the 3rd floor, yeah, fix the fire escape first, then we'll issue the permit. Or scaffold this thing somehow that meets the fire department and the building department's requirements. 2 people have to agree that your firemen are safe. That's all. Either through the existing fire escape, which is done first, because OSHA says do it first. So fire code, building code, so unless you overlap all these codes, you can't read it, but, and then conclude in a load test. Oh, you're doing a full refurb? Guess what? No load test. You're doing a partial refurb? Well, a portion of that is going to be an integrated load test. So you fix something such as the tread, yeah, you don't have to load test the treads, but you are load testing the platforms and the brackets. So there's an integrated load test, full load test, it all depends on where you're going. Confidence tests, they're on the website, go to nationalfirescapeassociation.org, it's free, you don't have to log in. And then you can take this and make your own words up. But this is what the city of Lowell was given before they created their own. And then they just got their guys together and said, okay, what's the question there? Yeah, let's give it a similar question. Because you don't have to use my stuff. It's just a guide of what questions you should ask guys who are going to look at the fire escape. And that's what makes everybody honest, because it's that document will put you in court. That document will lose your license. If they lie on that document, and whenever you have a problem and you don't trust something, guess what you pull out of your pocket? Load test. That helps everybody. What do you mean load test? Yeah, you know, I'm looking at a couple things. I was in this class. I still see rust. I don't know how you're signing off on this thing. But hey, we're all going to be cool as soon as you get this thing load tested. Oh, but I have a degree. I teach at the college. 40 years. Like, yeah. Some of my guys going on this, they've only been here for 4 years. But any one of them die, you're going to wrap them in your diploma. 75 to 125-year-old structure. If you do a full refurb, I'm totally confident you replace it. I'm even more confident. But you do anything less than a full refurb on this 75 to 125-year-old bolted, riveted, or welded fire escape. It concludes in a load test. Everybody in agreement? It's in the code. It's already there for you. You don't have to make this up. You say, you know, if your code states it, great. If your code doesn't state it, can you guys reference another code? Can you reference the NFEA or not? So you say, then you have to memorize it. The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. I'm looking for other evidence of strength, meaning every one of these goddamn connections. I can't see any rust. I see new bolts everywhere. Man, or load test. Because it looks like you left some things behind. I got some welds over here that have not been made into a mechanical connection. You know what I'm saying? So you're relying on these welds? Yeah. All welded fire escapes must be load tested. Why? Because at some point in its 75 to 125-year life, you let it rust. You didn't paint it. You didn't keep it sealed. And again, where do welds break? From the outside in or the inside out? Can you ever see it? Yeah, you can after it breaks. After it breaks, you will see it because you're hurt, or somebody's hurt, or somebody sadly is dead. Okay? So confidence tests are out there. You don't have to do anything new, guys. This is not, you know, hey, let's figure this out. Nope. So confidence tests, Seattle did one that I started. We have Oakland, we have Portland, Oregon, you know, San Diego, Yonkers, just copy any one of them. Or we'll help you, we'll work, which one you like. You want IFC to be the main thing? Great. Just like Yonkers, we're gonna bring you the Yonkers one. And then the Yonkers is spectacular, but it has a few flaws in it that I could make. So you'd say, can we help you change some of the question, the way they did the question is by somebody who doesn't live practically on a fire escape. You have to ask it this way so that everybody's held accountable, including the inspectors who inspect these things. You guys trust the guy that inspects your ladders for your trucks and who inspects you trust that guy?
Should.
Right? Oh, this is your ladder. This is how you guys get in and out of fire escapes after the tenants self-evacuate. They don't hang out and wait to see how great you do on the fire. They get out. So this becomes your piece of fire. This is a fire protection equipment that you guys use sometimes or not. But hopefully your academies, once you guys start doing this correctly, and you put the tag on there, right? Which is for who? Who's the tag for?
Traffic.
Who else? Tenants and firemen. Nobody else. Nobody else cares. But your firemen are gonna, when they're running down a smoky alleyway somewhere, and they look up and they see what? A white tag? These white tags are 8.5 by 11, 10 feet high, attached to the wall near the fire escape or on the physical fire escape, right? Then what happens? In Seattle, they want them 19 inches long, 11 inches high. I think I got a picture of here, Seattle. So see all these confidence tests that we help make nationwide? So here's Portland, because they just want a tag that says when the next year is gonna be. 2016 is gonna, you know, but do they have the name of the inspector and all that information on that? No. And so you have to be careful because people are stealing these tags and doing what? So what's it look like? So more tags. This is the 8.5 by 11. It's pretty visible, right? The 11's by 19. And it has the name of the inspector. It has the year that it's the next year that you have to do. You know, this is the year it got done. This is the when it gets to be redone. Who did the job? You know what I'm saying? Who did the maintenance and repairs? And this is a tag there, 11 by 19. What it looks like for your fireman running down the smoky alleyway. Gotta hang it from the fire escape. It's like an elevator tag.
I'm sorry, did you put a ribbon on Third and Church today?
A ribbon?
Red one. Red.
No, it's still workable. So it's gonna have a yellow.
Okay, I heard you say it failed, but yes, so there is yellow on there.
Yeah, well, I haven't put it on yet, but yes, because I had to come here through the clock, but yeah.
Gotcha, yes, sir.
So you guys understand, so this is the key for anybody going down. So this is for the tenants and the firemen only, the ones who will go to the fire escape. It also is for you when you're walking down alleyways to identify. So the first thing you want to have is a program where you want to identify the condition of all fire escapes in your city. That's how you start this. You just say, hey, it's an awareness program. We'd like your fire escape, please. I don't know how you would do it through public access or whatever. You say, please have your fire escapes inspected. You know, because, for example, sometimes they give it a 5-year rule. Over the next 1 to 5 years, whatever time you want to give it, through public access, and a lot of times they send it through the tax record. So I've seen cities use the tax envelope that goes up to pay your taxes, and you guys sneak in a letter inside that says, hey, the law is now for 2023 is this. Please be advised that we are now looking to have your fire escapes inspected and tagged. Okay? And what are you guys going to do in this first 1 to 5 years? You want to do all the red ones first. Get those to move immediately into a failed with a repair program. What's a repair program? That means we've made it functional, all right? And nobody can use it unless there's a fire. So it's a yellow means you can't even get on it unless there's a real fire. But it's been made functional, I'm saying? And then the people get it repaired so then it moves to a white. So as we start going through these things, anything that's a red, anything that's a white, a yellow, you want to move reds into yellows. Okay? So with that being said, let's continue on. I went over you guys just, what a typical platform, how much weight it takes. It's 100 pounds per square foot. You build fire escapes to 100 pounds per square foot. but you build buildings and their floors and their kitchens, right, to 40 to 60 pounds per square foot. So outside the building, it's safer, because again, it's outside, exposed to weather. It's supposed to be built stronger. Load testing. This is what load testing looks like. So take 50-pound sandbags, bring it up to the top floor, and then you start cascading down, bring a bunch of men, and you better do a pre-load test evaluation, because the last thing you do is load test a rusty fire escape. Now, can we do a pre-load test evaluation, which I have, selectively load test the fire escape and avoid certain areas that you know are possibly going to apply? Yeah, you can. And then provide them at the end, after load testing, with what's called a deficiency report? You sure can. So in some cases, you have fire escapes that 75% of that fire escape passes, everything's super tight. You got a couple of things here and there that are that can be fixed before you do the load test, or can be fixed after the load test. Because as long as you load test more than 75% of the fire escape, guess what happens? You provide a deficiency report. Do they got to sign off? Nope. And some of these deficiencies get photographed and identified, and in some cases, do I need to load test that again? Nope, because they're going to provide me other evidence of strength photographs that don't need a reload test, to be reload tested. Except when the witch doctors show up, and the client got a $30,000 bill, and he got a $3,000 bill or estimate. Guess which one's going to win? So it happens. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. So, but the load test now allows us to take the welding witch doctors, pre-load test it, so we know what we're going to load test. That still has the strength, and avoid what we don't. And then we provide a deficiency report to the welding witch doctor and to the owner. And we say, hey, if this welding witch doctor wants to come back and still do you wrong, these are the things that we found that we now need evidence that it got repaired. And we'll issue the certificate to the fire marshal. Or we say the whole thing needs to be load tested. Again, because of, case by case basis. But again, every time we have one of these dirty dog kicks, we work with the fire marshal to basically say, you've been given a 5-year warning. 5 years from now, you will either replace this system, steel, wood, or cement, or you're going to refurbish it to the satisfaction of an engineer group that is going to be involved in its restoration.
And in 5 years, they go, we just don't have the money, you can't give them another 5 years.
It's your call, it's not ours.
I didn't want to give them the first 5 years.
I know, but sadly, this is what's going to happen. We have to speak in reality. There's going to be some cases where everybody wants the full restoration, but it's your call to say, hey, because sadly, in some cases, it will shut a building down, it will stop something from happening. And I'm telling you, can we triage in the battlefield? We can, it happens all the time. How confident are we? Well, we just load tested it and it passed the load test. Because that's what the code says. The code says, the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. So what's load test mean? A load test and I'll fix whatever breaks. And I got that. I got that from Yale University. Their engineers, which are a lot smarter than me, their game plan was, hey, load test this and then fix what breaks. I went, no. I can load test what is a testable and avoid testing things that I know are going to break and then provide a deficiency report, but I'm not going to load test it until it breaks. Somebody's going to get hurt. He said the right way is you pre-load test evaluation, create a report of repairs, and then once the repairs are done, you meet the satisfaction of other evidence of strength, so there is no load test coming. The intent here is we're not bent on load testing. We don't like load testing. Okay? Too many men involved, too much weight involved. I'm saying 2,000 pounds is where we start moving around, and we don't load test the whole thing with thousands of pounds. And you do this piece, then you do that piece, then you do these stairs. Because I showed them, look at all the men. We had 7 men that day. If I have another picture. Yeah, look at that. All the way. And it's cascading. It all depends. I can do sandbags, I can do water bags, I can do cables to the ground, put the weight on the ground and yank. There's several ways. Maybe we know what we're going to be doing. But this is the old way of doing it. And some of the people that are going to come in, it's going to be a load test. It's going to be 1,000 or 2,000 pounds at the top. and they're gonna come down the stairs with sandbags. You think they stay steady? They don't. It's an avalanche of sandbags. You know, because you have to hold them and strap them, you know, and then you come down to the next one, and you wait, you look at your clock, and you measure before, during, and after. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. But to avoid this, just change all the bolts. Think about that. Hey, you want to avoid this? Every 5 years for the next 15 to 25 years? And some of these are $5,000 to $10,000 a whack. Why don't you use some of that money to change bolts?
Did you give this presentation to the building code official here?
This is the first time I've ever been in Wilmington, North Carolina. We call you guys and say, hey, you want a free seminar because we're going to be in your area anyway. I flew in from San Francisco yesterday. By the way, I grabbed somebody's bag that looked just like my bag. And it wasn't until I was at the Avis thing, and I'm looking down and it says, Jimenez. It was a bag from, first of all, it was at the wrong carousel, because I went to the Delta carousel by mistake, and it looked exactly like my bag. I went, man, I gotta go, because I gotta fly. I'm in Raleigh. I have to come all the way down there, a 2.5-hour drive, right? Then I'm at the Avis, I'm like, whose bag is this? So I had to go back and drop it, and my bag was actually at United. So that was a fun thing yesterday. So yeah, we'll do a class, but they don't care. Building departments don't care about fire escape. They haven't cared for 100 years, but I'm sure they start caring now. You guys care. And, you know, 95% of all my seminars is fire prevention. Building department's very rare. But I'll tell you what happened in our building department in Boston. Again,
But it was in the building code before it was in the fire code.
yeah, and they don't care. Because they don't get killed on fire escapes. You guys, tenants die on fire escapes and firemen die on fire escapes. There's no code official nearby here. They don't care.
Yeah, I'm just making a point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'll gladly
I'm going
go.
back to the 5-year deal. I'm deferring to the building code official who's first before.
No, they put it in your code.
They put it in my code to make sure it's been actually as a maintenance code to make sure it's been inspected.
Correct.
Exactly. So
Right.
I'm gonna say, building code official, have you inspected this? And
They-
when he says no, and I'm gonna say, well, our code says you need to inspect this.
No.
You need to make sure it's good. My code, the last time I checked, we done went to a building code class. You know what I'm saying? We're fire inspectors. I'm just, I know it's in my code, it's in my code to make sure I get the proper documentation. We get the proper documentation, just like fire alarms, just like we get, you know, we're not the ones out there actually pressure testing standpipe systems, but we make sure, we ensure that they've been done, they're in compliance.
So now it's back on you, just so you know. It's
Yeah.
always a third-party inspection.
Right.
The code now sits on you because the person I give my report to is you now. I do not give anything back to the building. Prior to this, a report was supposed to be submitted. They haven't done anything for 100 years, only a few
It's
places.
still under code.
The fire escapes must be maintained at all times.
Right, I'm saying it's still under
The
code.
proof of certification. So this is the rule nationwide.
Proof of
Buil-
maintenance.
Buildings are built with permits, and they're watched by fire code for the rest of their lives. Fire escapes have been built by building, and then they were in charge of watching it. You guys have never had it in your code, other than in the NFPA, saying, hey guys, stay on top of these reports, these alarms, these batteries. Fire escapes was the bastard child of egress, out of sight, out of mind, sitting in the building department code, and they're just like, yeah, we don't really care, you know. But
Until something happens.
until something happens, this happens.
Right.
And never do you see a building code. Now, they all rush there after the news gets this, and there's a fireman rush to the hospital holding a baby and the mother or whatever, but then the building code officials, oh, you know, they should be the guy should be watching the smoke. Again, it's a third-party inspection. No building inspector ever inspects a fire escape. He identifies
Right.
violations from the ground or physically on it, and then he orders the owners to get a third-party person to do that. So,
Right.
finally they put it in your code because it affects you directly. So, nationwide, 40 states, fire prevention, control this. Sadly, still, 10 states, Massachusetts being one of them, still in the building code. Why? It is what it is. For 100 years, but now most states, as of 2018 now, are starting to really say, no, it's ours. building department gets a copy of this, to put in the jacket of the building. So they get it, you guys feed their jacket when you do sprinkler testing, when you do pressure testing, when you do anything that's related. Permits get pulled there. Let's talk about permits. To repair a fire escape, do I need a permit? Or is it just routine maintenance?
No, that would be a permit through the building code official.
Nope.
We reviewed one of those not too long ago, and it was through the building, well, I mean, we didn't, so we just signed off, no inspection needed from us, but it wasn't, based on what you're saying, and it's wooden deck / fire escape off of
Egress.
egress off of a commercial, a 2-story commercial building.
All
on Dawson
residential?
Street. No, it was a commercial building.
No, I'm just saying all residential.
Yeah, and, so, but the building code official was all submitted to them, structural engineer and all that good stuff.
I'm just telling you nationwide, right in the code. Routine maintenance on a fire escape includes a paint job, so I need to pull a permit to paint the fire escape?
No, I would say no, I don't know, no inspection.
No,
needed.
I'm just giving you 50 states, I'm just talking to you guys, 50
Yeah.
states. You may disagree, because as soon as a building official, whether it's fire or building, walks in, I want my permit, for whatever reason, because he
Right.
wants a permit or he wants the money associated with a permit, in the US, I don't need a permit to paint this fire escape. If I'm changing a bolt, which is routine maintenance, routine, whether I change one bolt or all the bolts, it's routine maintenance, it's in the building code, no permit needed. Now, I take that same structure and I amend it, and I extend it 5 feet to pick up a window, I need a permit on that extension only. That's how it reads nationwide.
So does someone?
So, I'm sorry if I may just say this, and that's why the welding witch doctors have had their day.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
But now you add, the certification can't come from a welding witch doctor. It must come from a structural engineer. It must come from a registered architect. It's a design professional or others acceptable to the building official. So I'm gonna try to convince him to allow all 3 people to inspect, because it says right in the code on the, what's called the others acceptable to the building official, it says right there, you have specialists in the field. Whether they be sprinkler systems, whatever, that's what it's, design professionals or specialists who can prove that they have the qualifications to inspect this fire escape. I teach fire escape inspection classes to building inspectors, to engineers and architects for their continuing education class. I taught a class in Las Vegas to the entire AIA conference there, because they've never had a fire escape class in their life. But there's gonna be others. So for example, there's gonna be people who are not structural engineers or architects that you're gonna approve. You're gonna say, oh, this fire protection company that does sprinklers and this, what do you have? Oh, I'm somebody that's qualified in the fire escape side of it because we built them, we designed them, whatever it may be. So you guys are acceptable. Why? Because they all fill out the same form. The same 25-point question.
so did a company, reach out to you to come down and inspect their fire escapes?
Correct, they're trying to look nationwide, and a lot of times, even though you have architects and engineers available to them, they don't have a specialty, and most structural engineers will not touch this with a 10-foot pole.
No, I'm saying specifically why they called you to Wilmington to do
Okay,
what?
10 fire escapes, yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to.
And so what we do, whenever we do a new city, we always call the city and say, would you like a free class?
No, that's perfect. I'm just trying to close the loop in my mind. So if we are looking at right now a couple of those compliance, we're changing our RMS system right now. We're vetting that, and we probably will go with a third-party compliance, like Ricer or
Oh, perfect,
who's
I
the
will.
iRoll or something.
Yeah, I roll, yeah.
So we may do that, so that is something along with our standpipe systems, fire escapes can be in that as far as
Yeah,
requirements.
Bryce does that.
That's kind of what I'm.
And they're gonna ask you,
I mean,
do you have a document that you wanna submit to Brycer that is the standard document everybody fills out?
I got you.
And Brycer started in LA. So I know about Brycer when they first started. They turned on the city of LA for free, and they're doing a great job, and they've expanded nationwide to a lot of cities. And they're very good, and again, it costs you guys nothing, because we have to pay them. Every time I submit a thank you, it's $35, or whatever the current is right now. So they control the vendors now, to make sure, and then they help you guys control the people who own these properties, who are blowing you off and not doing it. It's all automatic. You automatically go to court, you automatically get a fine. It's all, the computer just says, oh, you're not responding, $1,000. And it's great. So let's continue here, and this is load testing, guys. See, cables, this is in California, and what happened here is they took out the staircases and they made these balconies, because somehow inside the building, right, they created, what do you call it, second means of egress. And it happens all the time when they do a major renovation and there's two cases inside. You don't need these balconies unless you want to keep them as Romeo and Juliet balconies, and they did. So they still need to be load tested. At the 422 right now in the corner of Church, they have the fronts. There's all these beautiful balconies, and because the building is historical, or we say hysterical, they have to keep those things on there, on that building, right? So guess what I told them? I says, what you have to do here right now is make it functional, so that it's not falling, these pieces are not falling. So the requirement to keep it structurally sound is lower, because nobody's ever gonna get in. And what do? The first thing we do is remove all the grating, which is made of wood right now. So all the grating gets removed, so you guys, when you get there, you can't get on these things. And they already blocked inside, the door or window that used to go, you can't even get outside on that building. So now that they've satisfied the needs of egress with the two fire escapes, those Romeo and Juliet balconies are nothing but decorations now. We treat decorations differently. Yep, still keep them painted, but now do we need to do the full-blown restoration? Nobody's ever going to get on it. There's just decoration. So there's a criteria that's a little bit different for that one. So that's a unique one for that they have to fix the two side ones with
We
a
have
cantilever.
several, we have several, did they take them off of Roy's down there? Remember old Roy's Railroad Landing? Used to be able to eat on the balconies, the Romeo and Juliet balconies, heck, I
They're
should
still
go
there,
there.
I think.
That's what I'm saying, but they're not functional, no one eats on there, I don't
Oh,
think.
yeah, they do.
Do they?
Yeah.
They need to go there and check those out.
Well, again,
And then let me know personally, because my wife likes sitting down there. It's been a long time.
it's been a sad day. The fire marshal's wife, while having her wine, sadly.
Yeah.
I think the tables are still out there,
I didn't think they were still out there
Oh,
anymore, I thought
They
they
do,
stopped
down
doing that.
there, they walk in, it's all.
because it's a new place now, it's not always anymore, so.
Yeah.
So so you guys understand, is there options? Yes. Is it brand new? Everything that we're sharing with you is being done all over the country. Some of them are totally insane. Portland, Oregon, one of the cities I started, I've done over 10 classes there. The building department stepped in, and you know what they say? I don't care if you refurbish it, you still want the load test, because guess how much they charge for the load test? The fees are crazy. So whether you fix it or don't fix it, they still want a load test. And guess what? 100 pounds per square foot? No, they want you to load test it to 200 pounds per square foot. Like, you guys all right? So what's the incentive for anybody to fix their fire escape? Zero. Get it up to the minimum standard, load test it to 200 pounds, which means it breaks both. I had one of my structures, the inside wall gave way during the load test. And the owner now had to reinforce the whole facade of his 3-story building. Because during the load test, the 100-plus-year-old building went. So, who inspects fire escapes? They think you guys inspect fire escapes.
We've gotten calls, and I know I have over the last several years.
Yep. Architect, so it's engineers, it's right in the code. The authority, it's design professionals, so that includes, and by the way, not a structural engineer, it just has to be a PE, and it could be an architect, not a structural architect, it could be a landscape architect. As long as he has a license, they can inspect these fire escapes. But if you make them fill out the standard form of questions, 25 questions, guess what? Some of them will not fill this out. They give you the standard letter, ready? You go back to your files of all the fire escapes you ever got. To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with the building code today. You know what that paper is worth tomorrow? But anyone that you get that letter from them, say, hey, thanks for the letter, put that in the file, and then say, fill this out. And they say, well, where are you getting this from? Is this an official state document that I'm going to be filling out? No, as a matter of fact, why don't you do this? You got a letterhead? Yeah. Ask these questions on your letterhead and answer these questions on your letterhead, please. And they'll read some of these questions. All wells passed by visual observation only, unless noted, rebolted, x-rayed, or load tested, are structures found in having no internal rust jacking, external surface rust, and/or material deterioration. What? I didn't look at all the things. Oh, you got paid to look at it all. Why didn't you look at it all? Yeah, I'm not going to sign this document. I'm not going to. Yeah, this liability jail time, license removals. That's what this is. And it's just 25 simple questions. You're gonna do it honestly, sign this all day long. You're gonna cheat, one of these is gonna put you in jail or responsible for a death or an injury, or get your license removed. Because it's a simple question. You are there to inspect the structure to make sure there's no internal rust on anything. Because rust is great. You can paint over it, but guess what it does every year? Forever. And eventually one day, it breaks something. Because rust can only go so far. Right? Guys, this is the ICC code, right? This is others, technical assistance. To determine the adaptability of technologies, process, and products and materials in operation, the building, the premises, inspection by the fire code official. The fire code official is authorized to require the owner to an agent to provide, without price to you guys, prepare a qualified engineer, a specialist or laboratory or fire specialty organization acceptable to the fire code official, and shall analyze the fire safety, right, and the operations, right, and all the appurtenances situated thereon, recommending. The fire code official is authorized to require the design submittals to be prepared by and bear the stamp of a registered design professional. So if you don't like the other, whoever that may be, you say, hey dude, can you get a peer review on your document and just have an engineer stamp your little document you sent to him. So you always have that back. That if you don't like the company that comes in with a new name and it's beautiful and they don't know what the hell they're doing. So load testing is in your back pocket, and listen, can you just have I don't want to read this thing, just have an engineer, your document, and engineers are going to like, dude, what you know. So let's move on. So this is the kind of engineers you have to worry about, guys. This is a letter. I did this fire escape inspection, right, on a building in Jersey City, and this is an engineer, and all he said to do on this structure that I shut down with fire codes, and he said, do these 4 things. The steel exit door on the second door does not open easily, so get it to open easy, the door. Some of the steel platforms floor straps are bent. We suggest the center midspan support under the flooring straps. So some of them are a little spongy, put a strap there. The third floor tread on the first stair from the ground has fallen off. Put that back. The fire escape will require paint after scraping down steel to base metal. All other inspected items are in good sound structural condition and in working order. And see all the red? Fire escape had nothing but life safeties on the entire structure. And the reason why we were there is because somebody got hurt trying to break in to the 3rd floor, and one of the treads let go and hurt that guy. So this is what you have to have. Right now, there's no document that he had to fill out. So a 25-point questionnaire is going to weed away a lot of the crap. And if you don't like somebody, just pull out your load testing, because you have the authority to pull out a load test at any time. So if you don't like something, just say, yeah, dude, you're an idiot. Thanks for signing the document, but I still want a load test. Oh, but we fixed it to my satisfaction. Yeah, that's mine. Load test, please. Okay? So with that, another one here. This guy in Chicago, right? Same stupid letter. Give it a paint job, change a couple things. I went there and I was pulling bolts out of this thing with my fingers. It had reverse brackets that came down. Look at those threaded rods. They're all eaten. I let the fire officials and building officials in Chicago know about it. Guess what happened? This is a veterans home in Boston, owned by the state. So if the bullets in the war didn't kill you, this collapsing fire escape was going to kill you because you're at this veterans home. So why is that? Fire escapes are the bastard child of egress, out of sight, out of mind. You're never going to use it anyway. You've always got staircases. Everybody's sprinkler systems came in and started giving everybody false hope. But older buildings that have only one staircase, light a trash fire, we call it the trash fire in the stairway, and see where everybody goes. If they can't go down that one stair, they're forced to the second means of egress. And some of these egresses, this is a city hall. Look at all the broken treads on the city hall. This is the other thing you guys are always concerned about. What's going on inside my wall? Behind the veneer, which is a 3-inch veneer, there's a 2 to 3 inches of, 2 to 3 bricks worth of the structural wall. The veneer is a pretty side. Fire escapes do not attach the veneer. They go through the veneer and then into the back. So once you get the veneer off, you can see how bad it is. So what do you want to spend? $500 a connection to go check out how bad that 100-year-old building is? Or do you want to, very simply, make another connection next to it? So you drill a three-quarter hole, right, into the building all the way 8 to 12 inches deep. You put in epoxy bolt, a Hilti epoxy bolt that's embedded now in a brand new connection in the wall, 4 to 6 inches away from any of these connections, you understand? And then you mechanically attach it back to what's still sticking outside. You let sleeping dogs lie, because these 100-year-old buildings, they crumble. So a full refurb includes reattaching it back into the building away from the original connection. And if that original connection still has 50%, 75%, or even 100%, the only way to verify it is every 5 years I gotta load test it, or I just give you a brand new connection. And if the inside is open, you can just put a through bolt with a plate on the inside and make a sandwich. But otherwise, epoxy bolts marry themselves to the 3 layers of bricks behind the veneer. Okay? Questions? Sounds like a monologue. You guys should hear my jokes. They're great. I sing too, by the way. So this is what this crap looks like. So you can't get back there. So what you do is you get next to it. Okay? So don't worry. I don't care how rotten it is in there. When you refurb, you move 6 inches to the left or 6 inches to the right, and you got a 3/4, your penetration is a 3/4 threaded rod, Hilti, or any other product that basically is epoxied. Not a friction bolt, not a sleeve anchor or something like that. Nope, it's got to marry itself. So when it blows out, it's going to bring a chunk of the wall with it down to the ground. Okay? Can we go some more? That's what the inside plate looks like. So sometimes you got walls on commercial structures. I don't want to do epoxy. This is better than epoxy. Okay? And by the way, the redundancy is every 4 to 5 feet. Do you guys understand? There's no way a fire escape will ever hit the ground in its entirety. It can lose one of its connect. The redundancy of 4 is everywhere. You understand? So if this bracket gives, there's a bracket 4 feet away. And the railing acts as a truss, so that if it's not supporting from underneath, it's suspended from above by something, a rail truss. So there's so much redundancy on fire escapes. You can get a dip. The only time you get a collapse is when all 4 are gone, and it's been doing that for 75 years. So fire escapes are built like a brick shithouse, guys. You can't get hurt on a certified fire escape. A certified fire escape has never killed or injured anybody in the country, ever. And a fire escape that has one of its connections bad, one, has never hurt or killed anybody. There's 4 bolts holding the treads, there's 4 bolts holding the stringer, there's 4 bolts holding railings, there's 4 bolts holding a bracket. And if you religiously inspect it every 5 years, like you do elevators and sprinkler systems, you catch some of the minor stuff on there. Confidence tests, again, they're on every website. You can just go there and get a free one. People are getting hurt. This guy forgot to put the fire escape bolts back. Look what happened. He fell 1 floor down. He was selling the building. And the real estate agent, him and the buyer, the fire escape just slipped off the roof. Why? Because the guy did the roof, took the fire escape off, then put it back on, and he had a bag of bolts left over. What do you think he did with those? Spare parts for the next fire escape. These are people who use a fire escape when you're not supposed to use a fire escape to repair roofs. You know what I'm saying? And if you do, because that's the only way to get up there, because you couldn't buy a lift or you couldn't, then that fire escape needs to be certified right after they finish using it. Recertified. We don't know what kind of weights they put on there, right? These are all deaths that have occurred, okay? Fire escapes. This is the famous one. That picture won a Pulitzer Prize, sadly, in '73. Now we're at the end of it now. So what are we going to do next? I've had so many of these classes, and some people do. But the key right now here is you guys are now aware there is things that you can do out there, whether you want to move ahead or not. And sometimes you're going to get political pushback because you're too good. You know what I'm saying? You get the phone calls. Hey, scale it back a little bit. this side of the city, do that on this side of the city. Who we recommend you guys go to right away? Commercials. The commercial will give a warning shot to the residentials. You know what I'm saying? And over the next 3 to 5 years, that's what I would spend the first 1 to 3 years, 75% of your focus should be on commercial. Because they'll do it, they have no choice, they need to stay open. And then the last 2 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years, get the residential involved, and the word will get out. And who's on the residential? All your apartment buildings, get them all done. And the people next door, so, is it gonna happen overnight? Nope. It starts here. If you start every day, then you guys just stay on top of it and write better violations. And the violations come automatic. Doing plan review, it's a permit. What's the means of egress for it? Yeah, get it fixed first, not last. And we can't issue the permit unless you have a certified fire escape on hand before the permit can be enacted, or scaffold it. As soon as you scaffold it, we're cool. Just, mothball the fire escape from the inside, so they have to block access to that fire escape while they're doing construction work. And then they need a big sign on the outside of the fire escape with a big circle and the, saying what? Yeah, use it, right?
So use them.
And then now you guys it'll start getting the word out. All your tax returns, tax bills, slip one of your little letters in there saying, hey, just as you know, as a heads up, 2023 is coming, and this is the code. So whether you're changing a light bulb, whether you're looking at your sprinkler systems, or the fire code now, which is supposed to stay away from 1-2 families, right? But if you go to that 1-2 family for any reason, and there's a fire escape on the outside, can you suggest to the building department that that should be addressed?
Oh, yeah, we can definitely suggest to the building department.
So we can still use them as couriers and runners, but who do we report to? Who do the engineers, architects, and and fire escape inspectors report to?
They're gonna report to us unless it's 1 or 2 family dwelling, then they're gonna report to us and buildings.
So it's there. How you want to enforce it, up to you. But if it starts here, and you guys just every day start treating all exterior steel and wooden stairways, including cement, differently now, because that's how you guys get in, but that's how the tenants get out. And now that is a true fire safety building, because a key to a lot of buildings is that it must be safe for tenants, right? And a non-certified fire escape on a tenant building, or whether it's an apartment building, not a single family, 2 family or plus, they can't get out. If they can't get out, there's an issue there. And every fire escape can be triaged to make it happen. Scaffolding is your answer for everything. Anything that's a train wreck of any kind, like, dude, just scaffold the side of the building and at least give these people a chance to get out. Because you don't have the $10,000 or the $100,000 to get immediately on this thing. Okay, scaffold it, we'll buy you some time, and then it's the building department and the fire department working together to say, we agree, because it's really, they're asking you, are you safe with what the guys just put up here? And you're like, I'm fine with it. Great, he's the final, not the building department. They're not gonna say, yeah, we're cool. I know him, we'll take off this weekend, I'll tell him all about it. Nope. The building safety relies on him because it's already been built by a permit 25, 50, 75 years ago. So you guys watch buildings, building department builds buildings, and then they're supposed to go. And fire escapes have been the bastard child for the longest time.
We have fire escapes listed in firehouses, I've never seen them. You know what I mean?
I know the magazine, yeah.
Accessories.
We have a news story we're supposed to be doing a story in that with one of the editors on the Oakland fire tower inspection as being the only fire tower ever load tested in the nation. They were the first in the nation. And that's only a year ago, guys.
Now, what we were referring to
Is
is
our
that's our
RMS
computer program.
Our RMS system.
Oh.
RMS system.
I thought Firehouse is a magazine, right?
But
We wrote a story in
our RMS system, I was saying, we started using it in 1999 or 2000, something like that. And I was just wondering I've never seen Firehouse as a building feature. I mean, I've never seen fire escape as a building feature in our building tab ever. So
You need to add that, right?
one of the first things we would need to do is to have a light duty person go throughout the whole city and notate all the fire escapes, and then input that in our RMS system.
By doing the pre-plan, but you can change to something anyway.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. if it doesn't exist now, don't matter if we change or whatever, we gotta have somebody go do that to input an RMS system.
I agree, because that way, as a
Same way we do
pre-plan,
with standpipes.
as a pre-plan, that's exactly it. You already know how you're gonna attack this fire escape, this building, and that, because your men are currently trained, it's the rule nationwide, not just you guys. In case of fire, the new recruits are all taught, don't use the fire escape.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody here has been in training, that's what they said. Oh, well, don't
All
use it.
that 25, 22 years ago.
We're gonna change that, because as soon as you put a tag on it, things. So what you're doing is sending somebody that's light duty, they're gonna identify every fire escape, wood, steel, or cement, as long if it's exposed to the weather. And then it's gonna be part of your system as a pre-plan when you get to a building that it has internals or externals as means of egress. And you're right there, you're gonna be able to say, where's the tag? Just like my elevator has a tag, my lights have a tag for the battery, my extinguishers all have tags, I want a tag. Well, what do you mean? Well, look, Seattle does it, Portland does it, San Francisco does it, so let's make it easy for the tenants and for any fireman who's brand new at this, get in there, they say white, get on the fire escape, don't go grab your ladder or your pole, just get on it, you can get on it, it's safe. If it's not, if it's on the repair, it's still safe. Yellow means you can still get on it, dude. Because it's ready for a fire.
Oh,
One-time use.
Where we can cross-reference that if we miss any. Or compare against the building department, but I mean, some of these records, like on these buildings is built in, whenever.
75 to 125 years
Yeah,
ago.
I mean, we're old, the downtown Wilmington's old, so probably since 1880 something, last time it burnt down. So I doubt they even have those records.
You Henry County.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's.
Well, I'm glad I showed a little interest. Looks like everybody's a little concerned. One violation that you write today is gonna save one fireman in the future. So we're gonna save firemen one fire escape at a time. And in that, also save some tenants, because they can self-evacuate without your assistance. As like they say, get away from the smoke, don't get away from the fire. Nobody gets away from the fire. The smoke is what gets you, and the superheated air inside a room. If I can get out that window, whether I throw a chair through it or not, and there's a fire escape on the outside, I just increase my survivability. So, as they say, I'm concluding my little seminar here. Do you guys have any other questions, any other suggestions? Otherwise, I gotta get back to fire escape inspections.
Now, if they renovate the building and put a second means of egress, interior second means of egress, says they do not use the fire escape anymore,
Just remove
it
it.
still have to be either removed or maintained.
Again, so hysterically,
If they just-
the
if it's
hysterical
just-
department on that building, they want them to keep that fire escape there. So it just needs to be structurally sound and not in use. So otherwise, as soon as you meet the second means of egress inside, which very few old buildings will ever do, they'll never put a second staircase inside. There's a lot of real estate lost when you bring in another stair. So fire escapes stay the answer, and it's okay to have a fire escape as long as it's certified. Because you guys just don't trust it, because nobody's been at it. But now that you're in charge of keeping on it, so that building down there, the fire escapes are gonna remain on the outside. There's no interior staircase coming. That thing will be torn down before they give up any real estate inside there for a staircase, of all things. And then the decorative now, there's just decorations, they're decorative balconies. And they already made it inside, no access. There's sheetrock and or doors that can't be accessed. You know what I'm saying? So there's a window there, but behind it, she already told me, they blocked everything off. They have to use the means of egresses inside and the outside. So unlike your restaurant that you're talking about, if they're still using it, yeah, it's gotta be structurally sound, it must be inspected. It's a balcony, all exterior, steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges, right? So you got a bridge over in your private property that go over a little babbling brook, must be inspected. All exterior, steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges, catwalk systems, handicap ramps. They must be inspected. It's a means of egress. It's only coming out of the first floor, but it still needs to be inspected. Made of wood, made of steel, those need to be inspected. All your facilities, your chemical facilities, your petrol They all have these staircases going all the way up to everything that you guys have to climb up and go find. Those need to be examined. They're everybody's all exterior, steel wooden stairways. At stadiums, there's staircases that are exposed to weather. That's what they need. Football stadiums. If it sees the weather, parking garages, if the weather gets to it partially, it needs to have an inspection.
What do we do when we
Can
have
of
a,
worms. What?
what do we do when we have a 2-ton bridge that was built in an area that we annexed, and that's our access to homes that we can't drive a 20-ton fire truck across?
There's two people that inspect bridges. State, if it's on private land, then you have a third party examination. So I did, for example, Bentley College in Massachusetts, they have this pedestrian bridge that goes over. So all walkways I have to inspect if it's on private land. If these walkways belong to government, then you guys have engineers that are doing bridges. So
It's in a private development. We have several of them private developments. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a public roadway, however, it's in a private development, public-private, yeah.
it's one of those. So to me, I think the public would override me. I wouldn't, but we bring in the right people to, who build these things, the engineers. So those have become strawberries. Fire escapes is 95%, 5% comes into these things where it's walkways from one building to the next. Yeah, so it's means of egress. If you leave this building to get to that building, that's the second means of egress. All exterior, steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges. It's in the building code. So now you have to put codes over codes, like, let me just read this code, as, using the, what do you call it, the thing with the three verses of, now I forgot the name of that, but Rosetta Stone. So sadly, when you put all three together, including the OSHA, and this is what helps you stop projects. You say, your violation of OSHA. OSHA says right there, clearly, Mr. Contractor, who's gonna get a fine right now from OSHA, you must maintain the second means of egress at all times during renovations, and if there's a building that's semi-occupied, your scaffolding can't be regular construction scaffolding with stairs to the ground. It has to be 3 foot wide, 7-11 rise and run, all the way to grade. So you have all the power now, and you've always had the power. It's just now you guys are in charge of making sure that it's getting done. And again, we don't have a lot of building department, step-ins and hey, they build things. You guys watch it after it's being built in every capacity. And finally, fire escapes have come over to your side. We report to you, and they get involved. There's extensions, and because there's been no permit requirements, that's why it's out of sight, out of mind. They didn't even know the fire escape was getting repaired. People just showed up, welded this, welded that, painted this, painted that, and they reported to somebody who didn't have a permit. Do you understand? You didn't have to tell them that you fixed it. You know what I'm saying? And some people now just left it alone because they came in, they did a great inspection on the inside of the building. Here's your permit, you did a new electrical, great, and there's a fire escape right outside. So that's why, for all these years, since the turn of the century, that fire escapes have not been touched, is because it wasn't required to get a permit to do that activity. So, if I do any work over here, I'm not gonna get a permit. But if the building department shows up and says, hey, where's my permit? I need that $27 that I'm gonna make on that. I'll go get you one, sir. What are you gonna say on there? Routine maintenance. Scrape, paint, change a bolt.
Yeah, they should say no inspection needed. And not charge them anything. So I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, it's in your hands now. The people that we're saving as tenants and your people. Your people now are being saved in this meeting. So like you said, are you gonna add it to your system where going to a fire escape pre-planned, you know that there's an exterior one there? You're hoping that it doesn't have a current tag. Maybe that's one of the things it has. It has a current certified fire escape, or it has a fire escape that's not currently certified. Or we don't know whether it's certified or not because there's no tagging on it. Everybody look for a tag. If you don't see the tag, and this is while you guys are still screaming through the streets, if you don't see a tag, don't get on it, go grab a ladder. Don't attempt anything, don't attempt any rescue at this time. Because what you guys want to do is when you get to a fire escape, get to a building, the tenants have self-evacuated, and you guys are firefighters. Otherwise it's fire rescue, then firefighting. let them get out. Like on this building that I'm doing right now, let them get out themselves, and they can currently. You know, there's a couple of things broken, there's one crazy railing that something broke on it, but still physically, people can get out. So, with that being said, I can sit here and chat all day long, guys, but I got my car parked at the harbor yard over there, and I gotta get myself to the harbor so I can eat some fish.
My
keys,
keys,
car.
Where's my car?
my car keys.
My car over there, my car.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.